Let's get started. Last time we met Sam and Jill, and today we're going to meet Miriam and Delaney. And so first, we're actually going to talk to Delaney. For some reason, I thought it was Miriam, but no, we're talking to Delaney first. So Delaney had an eating disorder in college, and after recovering, she was really self-conscious about her body, which had impacted her ability to hang out with friends. And she had done an intuitive eating program, but realized it wasn't really about the food, but it was about her body image and how she felt about herself. And so she took that next step to really complete the healing circle by working with me. And what I love about Delaney is that she's come really far in the time that we've worked together. She says now that it's maybe consuming like 25% of her life instead of 100% of her life, which is really, really incredible. And you'll hear the rest of her story here. So without further ado, this is Delaney's Spotlight. Hi, Delaney. Welcome to the show.
Hi. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks so much for being here. It's so nice to see you. So why don't you start by telling our listeners just a little bit about who you are, where you live, what you do?
Sure. Yeah. So I live in Atlanta. I grew up here. I was working as an event planner for a while, but I am a nanny now and really loving it. It's a good change of pace. And I have been married to my husband for 4 years.
Nice. Very good.
Yeah.
How did you find me? Just out of curiosity. I know I threw that question in there as like a rogue question.
So I actually did a different program before this. I'm going to sound like a program junkie, but I swear it was only these two. But I did a program for intuitive eating, and one of the things that she really highly recommended for me to do was follow body positive people or people that looked more like me on Instagram, which you don't look particularly like me, but within that whole following of new people, I found you and I started listening to your podcast, which is how I heard about You on Fire.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. I always like to know how people found me. So why don't you tell everyone just a little bit about what your frustrations were with your body before we started working together?
Sure. Yeah. So I actually developed an eating disorder when I went to college and had a lot of restriction issues and major unhealthy relationship with exercise. So when I kind of got over that restriction bit and eased up on the exercise, I gained a lot of weight, which was my body kind of retaliating for all of the shit that I put it through. So I end up carrying a lot of weight in my stomach, which is my biggest, thing that I was self-conscious about, and really affected, when I would go out with people, and all of my friends are pretty thin. So it was a really big comparison game, even between people that I loved and cared for and knew that they felt the same way about me. It was really hard for me to kind of do things in public or even with close friends. But then outside of that circle was just really difficult, specifically because I could never stop thinking about what I looked like.
Yeah. Yeah. And it had a big impact on your life then.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah. And so it sounds like you had kind of like healed your relationship with food, but then this was still kicking around.
I had not healed my relationship with food, which is why I started the intuitive eating program, which I developed the worst part of my eating disorder when I was a freshman in college. So at that point, oh my gosh, it's been almost 8 years, which is crazy. So that was about 8, maybe even 9 years ago. And I didn't even hear about intuitive eating until after I graduated. So during that time, I was still struggling and kind of trying to fix the problem on my own.
Yeah.
But I found out about intuitive eating through a counselor at school and read the book and started trying to do it for almost 2 years by myself, which I definitely needed that time with how severe of a problem I was having. I really needed that time to kind of ease in and understand the concepts, but I was definitely not at a place where I was healthy or like truly eating intuitively. And so then when I kind of picked it up again and I was like, I know this is going to work for me. I need someone to help me, which is why I did the other program. But then when I was going through that program, I realized, hey, this is great. I'm so glad I did this, but I'm realizing a lot of the underlying issues are not about food. It's about my body image and how I feel about myself. And I have, really low self-esteem. I really need someone who's going to help me work through that side of it, because it's all kind of coming back to this. And that's not what this program is about.
Yeah.
So the groundwork I needed, like the food and kind of getting over that part. But You on Fire was it was that more niche of, hey, we're going to talk about food for a minute, but that's not what this is about.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, like, body dissatisfaction is really what puts you into that place of like having that bad relationship with food and disordered relationship with food. And so if you don't deal with that, then it keeps popping up, and it's just going to be a continual problem. Yeah, for sure. Was there anything else that happened that made you decide you wanted to change?
It was really more of a slow build. I didn't have a light bulb moment or anything like that, but it was just kind of one thing led to another that snowballed in a good way of, okay, I see that this is a problem and I am mentally capable of fixing that right now. So let's focus on that. Okay, wait, now I'm seeing it's actually more of the, self-confidence and body image. Let's work on that. And so it was a long and slow line, but I'm getting there.
Yeah, and it is. I think a lot of people have to understand that it is like a long process. And I think your path is so similar to like a lot of other people. Like a lot of people kind of come into the program who have done some kind of, like intuitive eating work, and then kind of realize like, oh, this other stuff is really happening at the forefront that I need to deal with. And it takes some time. So, good for you for sticking with it and recognizing that and then getting support.
Well, for me, in hindsight, that was a big part of the first 1 or 2 modules. And if I would not have done the intuitive eating work that I did before, just with the specific problems I was having and kind of the severity of where my mental state was with food, I would have had a difficult time continuing on in the program. I really needed that groundwork first. And I know that's not true for everybody, but I'm very glad that I did that in the order that I did.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's very good. I'm glad that worked for you. So what were some of the things that really helped you along the way? Like some of the things that helped you move forward?
Like things in the program?
Yeah.
I think that one of the things that really helped me, and this was, you might have even said this to me before I started the program, but that the end goal is not necessarily to love your body. That would be amazing, but just not caring about it so much.
Yes.
And I never realized that was an option, which is a big trend of everything that I learned. Wow, I can't believe that I can just not care about this. That never occurred to me.
Yeah.
So that was really big. And I think the best module in terms of kind of helping me move along was the core values and figuring out what your core values are, and just kind of, if you don't get along with someone or if something happens, it's you don't have to take it personally. It's not necessarily about you. It's much more about your core values and the other person's core values that are just not matching up. So it's like, you can still appreciate people and you can still be okay with yourself, even if you don't, you're not best friends with every person.
Yeah. Yeah, that can be so helpful with like people pleasing and like overcoming fear of judgment. I think that really that's where I see that like framework and those tools being really, really helpful, is like giving that totally different perspective that you're you and they're them, and like it's okay for people not to get along or not to like you.
Yeah. And that's definitely consistent. People pleasing has been my whole life since birth. So
yeah,
one of the biggest things that I've been trying to work through. And that was also one of the biggest kind of moments was, I don't know exactly how you worded it, but basically owning the things about yourself. So like, even if it's not something that you would necessarily say is positive, but like, that it's a part of you, just to like, don't be ashamed of it, just own it. And then it won't be shameful. Like once it's spoken, you're not going to be embarrassed about it if you just really like own it and know it and kind of move on.
Yes.
And that was really big for me too.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That can be, like, that can really give you your power back, I guess, is a way of saying it. It's like to own something about yourself. Do you want to give any specifics around that, or?
Yeah. So it's kind of a silly example, but, one of the like biggest problems that's not the right word. Yeah. One of the biggest, foods that I just kept on getting hung up on and I felt a lot of shame around. I just love a Coke. I love it. And in my intuitive eating program, I did that like where you focus on the one food thing multiple times with Coke. And I would be like, okay, great. I feel great about it. And then a couple weeks later, I would just notice like, uh-oh, like this is happening again. Turns out it was not about my permission with it. It was more about my shame around it. And when I brought it up in one of the conversations, you're like, honestly, the amount of soda that you drink sounds super normal and fine. And you made me say, he said, okay, repeat this after me. Hi, my name is Delaney and I drink soda every day. And I was like, it was really hard for me to repeat it. Yeah. And I was just like, there's so much shame around it. And after I said that, I think I was being really weird on the call too. I was just like laughing and like trying to brush it off because I was so mortified to say that out loud. But then throughout the whole week, I just kept on saying like, you know what, I'm going to drink a soda every day. And I don't think I even did, but it was just like, it really made it less shameful, which is again, that's a very silly example, but
it's not
on me.
It's not. I was hoping you would share that. I didn't want to like insert that example in there without your permission. But that's what I thought you were kind of referring to when you said that, because it was like a major light bulb moment. And sometimes we can do fun, ridiculous things, and it actually really works.
But I mean, even since I said that, hi, my name's Delaney, I drink soda every day, it kind of made me think of not food related things that like, these are things that I'm embarrassed about myself, but what if I just wasn't embarrassed about it and it was just like a quirky thing that, people can know about me, rather than being embarrassed about, being a, control freak. If I just say, yeah, y'all know me. I'm a control freak. Just move along, like go about your day. And if
Yeah.
I just owned it, then I wouldn't have to be worried about it.
That's awesome. I love it. So good. That's so good. I love that that had such an impact on you.
Yeah.
So what were some of the specific things you've noticed about how you feel about your body since doing the program? And my son is kind of screaming in the background, but that's okay.
It's okay. Definitely just more, I notice what I'm thinking a lot more. So instead of just having a constant negative feedback loop of information, there are some times when I can actually say, oh, wait, I am belittling myself for no reason. Let's just like pause, take a breath, and like keep going with my day. And just like more awareness of like, wow, why am I being terrible to myself right now? Nothing even happened. Like, just a little pause. And more of like a tangible thing. I've not all the time, but sometimes worn things that were, I was definitely still uncomfortable in them, but the fact that I wore them at all is like a big step. So I wore shirts that were a little tighter or like kind of clinged to my stomach, which is the part of my body that I'm really self-conscious about. And, you know, like boulder prints, you can't see this. I'm wearing a cheetah print top right now.
Yeah, I love it.
Literally never wear, but I just bought it on Friday and decided to wear it this weekend. So, just a little more bold than I normally would be, which is not bold. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And so, like, I know you talked about kind of the soda thing, and you mentioned just like wearing the clothes and stuff. Were there any other highlight moments for you that you wanted to share?
I'm trying to think. I was saying a little bit earlier that just like how the frustrations that I had with my body really took me like out of social situations, and I was just really in my head about it. And on New Year's Eve, we went to a big get together with a lot of my husband's friends that are newer acquaintances to me. And it was the first time in a while that I actually went out and kind of mingled with people and wasn't completely losing my mind the whole time. Yeah. And I enjoyed myself, and you know, obviously there were still moments of like, oh God, what are you doing? But it wasn't that constant, you know, 100% of the time. Like there were moments of silence where I actually could just enjoy myself, and I wasn't thinking about everything that other people could possibly be thinking about me, which is really nice.
Yeah.
And I posted a picture of myself wearing a two-piece bathing suit onto my social media, which is wild.
Yeah.
And I wrote a poem.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. And how?
Which
So
I
how?
haven't done anything with yet, but
Well, it's really good.
thanks.
Really good. Really good. How did all that feel?
Just like I'm keeping the ball rolling, slow progress, just kind of chipping away one thing after the next. But it was all scary for sure. But I was proud of myself for each one after.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. Good job.
scary.
Yeah, but you did it and you did the thing. And like, you know, to go from being so stressed out in social situations to having moments where you're able to just kind of like be present and enjoy.
Yeah.
That's a huge change.
Yeah, it is. That's my consistent thing, is that I'm just always in my head. And so to not be in my head, especially at something like that, was really nice.
Yeah, brilliant. So how does it feel to kind of, you know, work through some of these things and get some of that baggage off your shoulders and be where you are now?
It feels good. You know, I definitely am going to redo a lot of the activities and keep on kind of revisiting and rethinking some of the things. I'm, going to get in my head about it again. But, I think it's all things that, yes, valuable to do the first time, but like you could always revisit and learn something new.
Totally.
So I think I'm going to redo several of them, specifically that were really difficult the first time. It would be easier to do again now that I'm like past where I was.
Mm-hmm. And that's the way it's set up, is so that you can do that and that the tools remain relevant no matter where you are in this process, and that you get something new out of it every time you revisit it, or you can lean on it when you're going through a situation where, like, you know, you're starting to feel body shame again, or you're getting in your head.
Right.
So yeah, that's awesome. I think like it's like, I commend you for doing that, like for committing to it and putting in the work and continuing to put in the work, because like a year from now, it'll be amazing to see where you are and what you've done and how far you've come. Cause you did the benchmark score, right? Like you did the benchmark score.
Yeah. And I'm really glad that you had that in there. So it was this little quiz that you filled out before, and then you filled out at the last module. And I think I had like 30 or something points difference, which it was on a scale of like 100. So it was a pretty big difference.
Yeah, I feel like your score almost doubled or something. Like it was really good.
You know what? I have my little journal here. Let me see if I can find it. It was like, the first one was like 53 or something, and the other one was in the 80s, I think.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I don't know.
My head goes right to calculating percentages because of my history as like an analyst. So I think I was like trying to calculate your percentage. I'm like, that's a 50% increase or something.
Okay. I don't see it right away.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It was a significant increase. It was either 50%
here
or
it
more.
is. It's 57 to 84.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. That's awesome. So
and
yeah, that's
I
like,
was kind of feeling like when I did the quiz, like, I don't know, that week I was kind of feeling like, I don't know if I really like made that much progress. Like, I don't feel that different. But then when I actually like see, oh yeah, I guess I do feel that different, because that's a huge change. So
yeah, that's great. Yeah, because it's like one of those things that it's not like a tangible change, right? It's not like, you know, we're so used to like weight loss programs where it's like, okay, you lose weight, like that's the goal, like you can physically see it. But with mental stuff, you don't physically see it. It just shows up differently in your life, and like it's hard to account for that. And so that's why I do have you kind of take stock of that in the beginning, to make sure that you're acknowledging your progress, and also like, you know, if things aren't changing, then we'll change things up and do it differently. But yeah, so I'm so glad you did that. So like how are you feeling now? Do you feel like you're like able to be a little more present, or like you're less in your head a bit? Like what's it like to be where you are now versus when you started?
I am feeling, you know, one of the things that you were saying was like, the goal isn't to love your body. And I've just really noticed that I can kind of see myself or see pictures of myself, or like, walk by a reflection and it doesn't impact my whole day. It doesn't, I can just look at it and be like, well, I don't love it, but okay, bye. Like,
Yeah.
like it's just not consuming 100% of my life. I would even say it's not even consuming 25% of my life, which is absolutely wild. Like from where I was, freshman year of college and hardly even surviving.
Yeah.
Like it's a really big difference.
Yeah, that's amazing. Awesome. What's one piece of advice you'd give to someone who's listening?
I would say ask for help if you need it. I want to say 2 pieces.
Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead. That was really short, so.
Definitely seriously ask for help, especially professional help, because it's really hard to navigate everything on your own.
Yeah.
But I think and I don't think that I specifically heard this from you, but I heard this or found this or something along this process, and it's like really been a good reminder for me throughout, is that treat yourself like your best friend. For me, it's really hard to just be nice to myself and have compassion for myself. And so thinking about like, why are you talking to yourself like this? Why are you judging yourself? Why do you have these low standards? And then even, is this how you would want your best friend to eat? Do you want your best friend to eat shitty box diet food every day and be sad? Like, no. If your friend is coming over for dinner, what are you going to make them?
Yeah.
Why don't you make that for yourself? Like, just if you have a hard time, which I definitely do, of like just respecting yourself on your own, like picture your best friend and just be like that to you.
Yeah. Brilliant. So good. So true too.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything else that you want to share before we wrap it up?
It's really hard work, but you're strong as hell and you can do it.
Yes, I agree. Well, thank you. I'm so proud of you, like really, really proud. And
Thank you.
Yeah, really, it's been awesome to see you show up every week and do the work. And you always had such thoughtful questions. Like you'd always like
Thanks
thought
for
through
always
everything.
answering 30 minutes of questions for me.
They were always really thoughtful and just being like so honest and vulnerable through the process. And yeah, you just have so much to be proud of. And like I said, I can't wait to see where you are in like a year. I think it's going to be even more amazing. And just seeing you in the leopard top right now, I'm like, oh yeah, she's here. She's doing it.
Well, I really appreciate it, and I loved the program, and I love being in the group, and we'll post updates, but I had a great time. And just for people listening, I'm a huge fan of your podcast. I binged all of the episodes. They're great. You should definitely. And this body image series is amazing.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad you like it. That's awesome. Good. Super fan. That's awesome. Thank you so much, Delaney.
Thank you.
Rock on.
I'm so proud of how far Delaney has come in our time together. It's just really, really amazing to see. And I just know she's going to be like in an even more amazing position in like a year from now.